for listening in to the CDC BRFSS Tools training video. Today we'll be focusing on the Prevalence and Trends Data tool and the Chronic Disease Indicators tool, which are available on the BRFSS section of the CDC's website. We'll start on the CDC BRFSS page. Today we'll be focusing on the Prevalence Data and Data Analysis tools, which you can access by clicking the second tile down on the left. Let's start with the Prevalence and Trends Data tool. So this is the Prevalence and Trends Data tool homepage. As you can see by scrolling down, we have a few different options here on this page. We can explore BRFSS data by location or by topic. Let's start by looking at BRFSS data by location. So the BRFSS data by location tool is a great option if you'd like to look at the prevalence of responses of a specific BRFSS question, such as how often people eat fruits or vegetables, or how often they smoke cigarettes in a given state or territory. So for our first demo, let's create a table showing the age-adjusted prevalence of current e-cigarette usage for California adults in 2016. As you can see from that example, we're looking at very specific information for a very specific location. So we'll start creating that table by selecting our state from this drop-down menu. And I'm going to select California since that's what's relevant for the table I'd like to create. Then I'll click Go and wait for the next options to load. Next, I have the option to select a class, topic, and year for the graph that I'm trying to create. I'm going to change the class to e-cigarette use, since that's what I'm interested in. And then I'll update my topic to also be e-cigarette use. You'll notice that for this class, there was only one topic option, but for some other classes, there may be many options, and it's up to you to sort through and find the one that's relevant for you. Then I'll update the year to be 2016 and click Go. There we go. So two graphs have been created for the prevalence of responses to the two California BRFSS questions that are relevant to my class and topic selection. I'll select the question on the left to work with, since this is what I'm interested in, and then I'll adjust the graph to show an age-adjusted prevalence instead of crude prevalence by clicking on this drop-down menu next to data type. And there we go. There are a few other options here that might be useful depending on your needs. First, you'll see in the top right corner of this graph, we can choose to display this information as a bar graph by clicking on the little bar graph icon, or we can adjust this to be a table by clicking on the little table icon in the top right. If you select the table option, your information will now be displayed as a numeric table. If you'd like to export the graph or table you've created, you can click on the little settings button up here in the top right corner, and you can save your creation as a PDF or export it as a CSV file. You may notice, as you're using this tool, that not all classes, topics, and years will be available for each piece of information you're interested in looking at. This is because not every BRFSS module is included in each year of the survey. Prevalence and Trends also includes the ability to create these same bar graphs for MMSAs instead of states. An MMSA is a metropolitan micropolitan statistical area. Let's look at a quick example. So if we change our selection up here in the top left corner from states to MMSAs, our location field will now update. So when we click on the drop-down menu, instead of seeing state names, we should see these micropolitan, metropolitan areas up here under each state name. If we scroll down to Indiana, as an example, we now have the option to choose the Evansville, Indiana, Kentucky metropolitan statistical area, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson, or South Bend, Mishawaka. Let's go back to the Prevalence Data Tools homepage and take a look at exploring BRFSS data by topic. This piece of the tool will help us to create national prevalence maps, bar graphs, and charts for single health topics. Let's try it out. I'm going to create a national prevalence map for exercise in 2017. I'll open the class drop-down menu under the Explore BRFSS Data by Topic section and select Physical Activity, since that's the class that I feel is most likely to contain the topic of exercise. Then I'll select Exercise as my topic and click Go. Here we are. We'll see a prevalence map for exercise in 2017. You'll see on this option that just like before, we have the choice to display either crude prevalence or age-adjusted prevalence. So I'll make that change really quickly. There are a few other neat options in this section of the tool. For example, by clicking on Legend Settings over here in the legend on the bottom, there's a little Settings button. I can change the way that the data is displayed on my lab. So right now, the color coding of each state is divided by quantile, and there are 4 different classes. But let's say I wanted to see a little bit more differentiation, a little bit more detailed of a breakdown. I can adjust the number of classes up or down, and I can also adjust the way that the classifications are divided. I'm going to leave it as quantile since that's what I'd like to see, but let's try this with 6 classes instead of 4 so that you can see the difference. And there we go, so we see a little bit more variation in color, and now there are 6 different categories as opposed to just 4. Another neat option in this tool is right now we're looking at the overall prevalence of people saying yes that they have exercised in the past 30 days. But what if instead we wanted to control for gender or age group or something else? We can do this by using the View By option. We can click on this drop-down menu, and let's control by gender. And when it does, you see we now have an additional option right here. So this little drop-down that says male in it has appeared. So right now, we are looking at the prevalence of reporting exercise in the past 30 days, controlling for male respondents. But we can also now select female and see that graph as well. We can save our graphic here by clicking on the little settings button up in the top right corner and exporting this graphic as a PDF or a CSV file. We can also adjust the display to be a bar graph or a table by selecting the icons in the top right corner. So we can see this as a bar graph. There we go. And you see it's still broken down by male and female. So the blue bars are male, the red bars are female, or as a table. So we're back on the Prevalence Data and Data Analysis Tools homepage, and this time we're going to scroll down and choose to explore the Chronic Disease Indicators tool. You'll notice right away that the Chronic Disease Indicators tool looks very similar to the Prevalence and Trends Data tool. However, with this tool, when we click on our drop-down menus, instead of a list of BRFSS question classes and topics for the different modules, we're going to see a list of chronic disease indicators instead. As you'll see in a minute, this tool is actually going to provide us with an output for all BRFSS questions associated with our chosen chronic disease indicator. This tool also allows us to access more data than just the BRFSS. For example, cancer data from statewide cancer registries is included here, as well as mortality data gathered from death certificates and more. Let's use that as our example and take a look at the chronic disease indicator cancer. We'll start by exploring cancer by location. I'm going to choose Indiana as my location and click Go. Now that I've chosen Indiana as my location, I'll adjust my category to be cancer and click Go again. The first thing you want to do with the Chronic Disease Indicator tool is click on this text here that appears under your category that says Select Indicators to View. Right now, as you can see, we're displaying 8 of the 20 selected indicators related to the cancer category that are displaying below. So let's click Select Indicators to View, and you'll see here we can click Clear All, and then select the indicators that we want to view specifically from this large list of 20. So I'm going to choose invasive melanoma incidence and melanoma mortality, and then click OK. And now I see the graphs that appear for the 2 indicators that I have selected. There is an indicator definition available at the bottom of each of these graphs, and then it also tells you where this data came from. So in this case, although we access this tool from the CDC BRFSS tools, you can see that the invasive melanoma incidence graph, the data is coming from statewide central cancer registries, and the melanoma mortality graph has data that is coming from death certificates. So that is something to keep an eye on. You'll also notice that this data is aggregated over 2010 to 2014. And then we do have the choice here. So the default in chronic disease indicators is for age-adjusted rates to be displayed. If you did want to display a crude rate or an average annual number, that option is available to you. And as well, similar to before, we can save these graphs by clicking the settings icon in the top right corner and exporting as PDF or CSV, and we can adjust this graph to be a table instead if we would like to. So now we'll return to the Chronic Disease Indicators homepage. Exploring chronic disease indicator data by indicator looks very similar to exploring BRFSS data by topic, but one big difference between the Prevalence and Trends tool and the Chronic Disease Indicator tool is this comparison report tool available on the right side of the screen. The comparison report tool allows us to create tables with prevalence rates of up to 4 specific locations displayed next to each other. Let's take a look. So here you'll see the first thing that you're going to want to do in the comparison report is go over to the top right corner and click Add or Remove Location. By default, United States is the first selected location. Let's uncheck that and choose 4 different locations. I'm going to choose Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio. I'll click Save and wait for the screen to load. And now, when I open up one of these indicators, I'll choose cardiovascular disease. I will see all of the indicators that were available in the other pieces of the chronic indicator tool listed out here on the left. And then in my columns, I'm going to see the reported rates for each of these indicators for each different location. So we have the Illinois column, the Indiana column, the Kentucky column, and the Ohio column, all available right next to each other. I know it's a lot of information displayed all at once, but if you are just trying to look really quickly at some numbers, instead of having to go into the by location or by topic tool and be creating all these graphs and exporting them, you can see everything. One other cool feature of this tool is you can expand all the categories or collapse all the categories by clicking those buttons. If we know what we're looking for, it is a big report and you know the data is in here and you just want to be able to pull out those indicators really quickly, we can use this search report feature that's up here in the top left and type in a term. So for example, I would like to look for indicators that are specifically related to use. So I'll type in use, I click search. So there are 10 results, and then we see the word use is highlighted to make it stand out. So as we scroll through all these indicators, it's also automatically opened the categories which have a use indicator in them. So yeah, that's the Chronic Disease Indicator tool. We hope this video has been helpful to you in learning how to use the Prevalence and Trends data and Chronic Disease Indicators tools available on the CDC website